Well, Mr. Divin, welcome into another episode of the Next in Line podcast. We're happy to have y'all in here with us as we try some new stuff.
Yeah, man. We got a few new things going on right now.
Yeah, it used to be a laptop with a webcam on it and just external speakers and.
Dude, I forgot about the laptop days.
It was, man. I drug that thing out to a deer stand and recorded some in a deer stand back when we lived in Yancey. We're pretty low tech. Now I'm sitting here staring at 3 cameras and we got another screen over there recording the audio separately and our own studio. It's a little bit wild.
It is wild, man. But it's exciting to see all the progress. Just in that short amount of time. From where we've been to where we are now. It's pretty cool.
It really is. And we mentioned it last episode, but if you're not familiar, guys, this is Mr. Lane Divin. He's a dang good friend of mine. He's an awesome individual, has some really, really high caliber stuff going on in his life. And we've kind of been on this journey together for the past few years of personal development and positive changes. And we decided that going forward into 2024, we needed to both have a different approach to our lives in some ways. A lot of the same, but some refined areas as well that we could dive into. And so for the foreseeable future, on just about probably 95% of the episodes, we'll have Mr. Divin sitting in here as our official co-host. So welcome to the show.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Again, dude, I'm just excited to see, everything that we got coming down the pipeline. There's a lot of awesome things that we're going to be trying to get squared away, and the impact that we're going to have is going to be pretty sweet. So
it's going to be cool, man. And it's cool to see the people around us and a little bit of conversations here and there about what the plan is and what we're doing and the positivity associated with that as well. Before we dive too far into this deal, we do have a partner that we want to make sure we show off in this podcast just a little bit.
Yep, absolutely.
Them guys over there in Conroe. If you're ever in Conroe or Houston area for that matter and want to make a drive up to this place right here, Axis Recovery, that would be a game changer for anybody that did that. I went up there and tried their facilities. These guys specialize in recovery. And it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you run ultra marathons, or if you're just regular person looking to feel a little bit better. They got some protocols up there with their cold plunges and saunas that are truly next level. You're going to have to sneak up there here whenever we go to Houston here in just a little while.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see the place, man. Dive into that experience for us a little bit. What was that like for you?
Man, it was awesome. Whenever we got there, it was a little bit crowded. They had just opened. We went on their soft opening day, and it was a little packed, man. The popularity of this thing is jam up good. You hear guys like Gary Brecka, guys like, there's so many different ones, Huberman, that talk about the positive effects of these cold plunges and things like that, and you really don't get it until you go and try this thing. When we showed up, it was in a very nice area of Conroe over there. We walked in and the facilities, the building, they're just done right. You go into every room, there's a mural that kind of paints a good relaxing picture for you in there. And you look in and there's a very clean and well kept cold plunge right there, ready to go, state of the art stuff. This isn't just like a freezer in somebody's garage. I don't know if who would have that.
Inflatable cold plunge tubs.
Yeah. I might have some experience with those, but
water trough.
Yeah, exactly, with a bucket of ice. No, these guys did a jam up job, state of the art stuff, and they also had these awesome saunas in there that get up about 170 degrees. And man, the protocol that they set me up on over there were. It was a 30-minute cold plunge, go out, and then do a 3-minute, 30-minute cold plunge. I'm losing my
dang,
mind.
dude.
30 minutes in the sauna, I should say. And then followed up with a 3-minute cold plunge, hop out, let your body warm up, and then hit 3 minutes in the cold plunge one more time. Don't spend 30 minutes in a cold plunge.
Yeah,
it's a really bad idea. Not safe. But just this experience and getting in that sauna and then having the cold and cold again, I walked out of there feeling fresh, man. Just
kind of euphoric, maybe.
Yeah, just like reinvigorated. Yeah. And I know every person that went in there had that same experience, and that's not to even move away from the fact that just the two guys in there, Chris and Kyle, just great guys.
Yeah,
they truly care about helping people feel better.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think that's probably one of the neatest things, especially in today's world. You hear so many different companies that they're just going through the motions, don't really care. All they care about is that bottom dollar. But with Chris and Kyle, man, I mean, you're gonna be hard pressed to find two better guys. So.
Oh, I agree, man. In it for the right reasons. They're athletes. They use these protocols themselves. They're not just blowing smoke. They truly believe in what they do. So, again, guys, you'll see it here. That's Access Recovery. Go over there. Tell them that Next in Line sent you by, and maybe we can work out some kind of discount code with them boys over there.
Shoot, that'd be sweet. That would be awesome.
Yes, sir.
Well, what's going on, man? What you got on your mind today?
Oh, man. Today, I've been all over the place today. I've been militantly chasing and pursuing the protection of my time.
Yeah.
And lack of stress and all of those things in my life that have been just factors that take away from my overall experience and my family's overall experience for positivity in life.
Well, I feel like right now, it's such a, or it can be such a hectic time. We coming out of Thanksgiving and you're going through and visiting everybody, and then 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, you're rolling into Christmas, and just shortly after that, it's New Year's, man. So we got just a lot of stuff going on, and it's also the end of the year for businesses, so with us and work and everything going on, I mean, it's pretty easy to just get overwhelmed if you don't control it, and time can slip by super quick. So.
And that's exactly the thing I'm talking about. Man, it's just been go, stress. Everybody's trying to close everything out, get everything done, jump everywhere for the holidays, and that's why I'm being, like I said, aggressive in pursuing peace and just saying no, setting boundaries.
Yeah, that's something that me and my wife have been working on too. Just saying no and being, I guess, in some perspectives, and maybe looking at like could be selfish with their time, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either in certain circumstances. So,
well, you can speak to this too. I mean, if there wasn't that aspect of selfishness somewhere in there, then you wouldn't be where you're at. I wouldn't be where I'm at. How many times did we selfishly go to the gym instead of being well rested the next day to do whatever with whoever, right? How many times did we miss events because we wanted to go do something productive rather than something that just
hanging out
was enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
Quote unquote enjoyable.
Absolutely. That's a solid point right there.
So that's just where our head's been at. How have you been, man? What's up with you? What's new?
We're good, man. We're good. Transitioning into a new training block. Stretching out these legs again. It's pretty nice getting out there and running down these roads. And quite honestly, I'm a lot better off than I really thought I would be coming into this, and it's been pretty surprising. So it's been pretty awesome, man. And I think really it's kind of a testament to just our training overall, just in general. We're able to kind of focus on one area, but it's not a stretch to get back over to another. Like, you're not gonna be out there dying or anything like that. So it's been pretty cool.
That's fair. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I've been seeing your runs on the Garmin Connect, and man, it's looking good. I'm excited for you because I know how eager you've been to get back into running.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think a lot of it too, just like the environment that we put ourselves in out there at these races, right? It's the culture in the running world is just so much different from the culture of like in the gym.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's kind of I wouldn't say addictive, but I can't quite place the right term on it. But just getting out there and just being surrounded by such great folks all the time versus in the gym. It's very independent, obviously. But there's a lot of ego lifting and it's just a completely different world in there. So
yeah, I could definitely see that. And I've experienced that as well. I mean, even walking into some of these gyms, it's very rare you have a conversation, but whenever you find a spot where you're resting on a trail and somebody else is resting at the same spot, or you pass somebody on a trail, or you end up running with somebody for a short period of time. I mean, it's always a conversation starter. And there's always that little bit of positivity. And even if it's so much as just like, hey, you're doing good. Hey, good job. Or, hey, hope you have a good day. Whatever it is, I mean, it is very different.
Oh, yeah.
Than the gym culture.
Yep. And then, again, even with all the great folks that you and I are surrounded by, just getting out there to those races, I mean, it's always just such a good time.
Yeah.
We got some cold nights. We've had some cold nights. We got some rainy days, that we've dealt with. And I know that there's plenty more in the future, but just kind of adds to the whole adventure of it all. So it's always been awesome getting out there.
Oh, it does, man. It is. It's something I'm really looking forward to, especially now that you're in the running world again. I know that we're going to spend quite a bit of time on trails together. If I had to imagine going forward, just with some training runs and some probably preparatory work around this as well, out there conversating on the trails. So,
oh yeah, yep.
And man, speaking of which, this is the first podcast of 2024.
It's wild.
It is wild, man.
23 just flew by.
And I'm sure there's a lot of goals that we both had set that we were able to achieve, but there's a lot that we left on the table. And it'll be really fun and exciting to be able to clean that up and continue to head this thing in the right direction going out to 2024. And I got some big things on the books, and we skipped over that part a little bit. We got some races coming up. We'll be over at Brazos Bend State Park on January 6th and 7th, coming up here real quick to support Michael Ruiz as he takes on his first 100-mile race.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And somebody near and dear to you.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. My wife, Kendall Divin, she's going to go out there and knock out her second half marathon, so we're pretty excited to see her out on the trails. She ended up knocking out the rock and roll recently, and we're just stoked with how well she did out there, and excited to see her on the trails too. So
that's pretty dang exciting, man. I'm stoked to see her out there and see how she does bouncing back on this deal as well. She's really progressed as a runner over the past year or so, and
absolutely.
It's been cool seeing a lot of growth out of everybody. I mean, Michael running this 100, her doing that, and you gearing back up into the running world. It's been pretty dang cool. The weekend after that, we're still up in the air on if we're going to go out to Bandera or not and run one of those events.
I know, man. I mean, I think obviously there's a few different pros and cons there that we could look at. Just getting out there and around here, you can get some decent elevation out there at that race, which is pretty solid, and getting out there on an actual trail again. But, we got to see if it fits into your plan right, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I just want to be smart. I want to go about this the appropriate way, because I've rushed into a lot of things, and it could be argued that I'm still rushing into this 250-mile race. But I've done it when I'm not ready several times and end up injured or hurt or whatever. So really going to look hard at what this is before I jump in head first.
Yes, sir.
And then on the flip side of that, we're talking about making a journey out to Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, we are. That's another one that we're considering getting out there. And, and the cool thing with that race is it's a little bit different of format. For those that don't know, you have hour increments. They have a 4-hour race and a 6-hour and an 8-hour, I believe. And then whoever knocks out the most laps on a 4-mile loop is who wins that sucker. So
That's absolutely right. It's going to be a little technical. There's going to be some elevation from what I understand. Pretty challenging little loop out there.
I think so. I saw a video of it the other day, and there's some folks essentially climbing up a section of that hill. I haven't dove super deep into it. I don't know what that trail truly looks like, but I think that, I mean, shoot, you're out there at their first 50K. I think that you dealt with quite a bit of elevation out there too. So
there certainly was, and it's a 3 of 7 project trail race out there. The group of guys is amazing, huge inspiration behind kind of what we do here, and also some of the journey that we've been on the past couple of years. So, man,
I don't think I could skip over kind of the influence that they've had, at least in my life. In so many different regards. It's just going through, and they have that same mission, going out there and just trying to inspire and make a difference in people's lives. So it's been pretty awesome just getting to just immerse myself into all of the different things that they share with folks, and that'd be pretty cool getting out there.
No, 100%. I'm really looking forward to that one. We got about 3, maybe 4 people interested in that race out there right now. So looking at potentially having a group head out that way and participate. So pretty excited about that. February 10th.
Yeah, February 10th. We just got to line out some details on that one. So
that's right. If you're interested in any of that stuff, guys, let us know. Reach out. And then beyond that, as far as races on the books, the only one left would be the Coconona 250. That is the 250-mile ultramarathon that I plan to take on. I'll be towing the line out there on May 6th, getting ready to take off with some amazing racers, amazing folks, and with the support of some awesome pacers and crew members as well. That race runs from Black Canyon City, which is just north of Phoenix, out to Flagstaff, Arizona. 40,000 foot of elevation gain is going to be an absolute beast. But couldn't be more excited, man, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and especially, last year, going out there, you got to pace Dan. I think that definitely gave you a little bit of a taste of it, and if I had to guess, probably a pretty big factor into why we're signed up this year.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Regardless, I'm excited to get out there, man, and just be a part of that adventure.
Hey, it's gonna be dang good. That's all I can say about it.
Yes, sir.
Man, well, we kicked this thing around for a little while, did some good stuff, got some announcements out of the way, but I think we need to go ahead and jump into the reason why we're sitting here, and kind of give these folks a little bit of explanation as to where this thing's going to be headed, what we're going to be doing, and why.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to run with it, or you want me to?
Oh, man. Well, obviously, we focus quite a bit on that, what we can see up here, right? Spiritual, mental, and physical. I think there's 2 up there that we've truly focused on pretty heavily. Going through and focusing on that mental toughness and obviously the physical side of it too. But that spiritual side is where I've personally been lacking a little bit. I'll be pretty straightforward with that, and I don't want to speak for you, but I think through our conversations, it's an area that we're both looking forward to growing deeper in. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Do me a favor here, since we're still tuck that mic up a little bit higher.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Reads on the.
Maybe folks can hear me, but
maybe a little bit. You might. Have
it looks like it's reading a little bit.
I think it's reading just a little bit. Sorry, we're still working out some kinks, y'all. This is a brand new setup, brand spanking new. But yeah, not to move away from that conversation. I mean that's one area of my life that I have not spent a lot of time in. I just kind of a little background, and whenever I tell this story, there's nothing against anybody in this story. I think everybody did what they thought was correct or what they thought was right, and attempted to give experience or advice or an opportunity in a way that they saw fit. But it just didn't work for me. I grew up going to a very small, very exclusive Church of Christ. It was very single track, one track mind kind of this is what you do, this is what you don't do. And the reason why behind was really, if you want salvation, if you want to go to heaven and not to hell, then this is just what you do.
So maybe one of those, like maybe like the typical perception of like a southern U.S. like church, right? It's either my way or you're gonna be burning in hell, and that doesn't bode too well for a lot of folks.
So. Yeah, and well, especially, man, I started going there whenever I was, little kid, and I think we were pretty much gone our whole lives, and it just, every time that we went, there wasn't a kids ministry, there wasn't any kind of teaching on that lower level. So for one, the lessons were over my head. I never understood them. I just saw this place as something that was, somewhat kind of standing in the way of the other things I'd rather be doing with my weekend, and everything they were telling me I couldn't do or they didn't want me to do were things that came natural as fun or enjoyable or things that all my friends were doing. And so very quickly I had lessons in scripture that were over my head that I couldn't decipher and didn't have the means to understand kind of in any way. And on the opposite side of that, it was pulling me away from the things that I wanted to do. So being that is the case, my introduction into Christianity and organized religion in the church and everything like that, I started with a very bad taste in my mouth. Not to mention, on the other side of organized religion, I grew up in an area that had a very particular kind of church in it, and those individuals were very kind of exclusive as well. I was an outsider in that regard, and I remember in elementary school, middle school, that was a big difference between me and a lot of people, and it wasn't something that made life easy in any regard. And seeing that on the outside looking in, it didn't look like something that was kind of appetizing to me at all. So I continued to push away from that and not be excited in that regard.
Yeah, it's one of those instances where it just consistently makes you just kind of want to push away a little bit. I think that's probably pretty relatable for quite a few folks out there, if I had to guess.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. And man, going through just a brief history of kind of what's gotten me to this point, going through and going to other churches, there was a couple that felt better, but it still didn't feel right because I felt like a complete stranger, right? I didn't feel like I belonged, didn't feel like I was able to receive any kind of grace or blessing or anything like that because I didn't know, right? I was uneducated. I was doing things that didn't really seem like, why would this guy that's not a good person in some regards and makes a lot of mistakes, why would he be welcome in a place like this? And up until probably past couple of years, that's really the perspective I had on church. I had strong distaste for organized religion, strong distaste for churches in general, avoided the conversation, and that's kind of where I bloomed from or grew up in as far as church goes. And again, that's not a bad.
It's not a slide on anybody else.
Yeah, not at all. And I hope it's not taken that way, but that's just how it was perceived and what led me to where I'm at in my life. But what about you, man? How did you get to the point that you were at to where you felt like there was a gap there?
Yeah, man. So for me, I grew up in a pretty religious household. My experience was pretty awesome growing up, in that regard for sure. Really in all aspects, I guess. But, we grew up going to church and, my folks, they were pretty determined to make sure that we found a church that was fitting for us as a family. And they looked at, many different aspects, if I had to guess, going through and finding churches. It was we grew up in small towns, all over Texas. And we weren't necessarily just going to whatever church was closest. They're pretty persistent in finding, a church that kind of called them to that place, if that makes sense. And it's something I'm very grateful for. We went through and growing up, we were active in youth ministry and going out to youth groups and church camp and your typical stuff. And it's again an experience that I am very grateful for. But for me, probably I think once I graduated high school, because you kind of get out of the nest, right? And you get to go out and just kind of find your own way, essentially. And that's kind of where that kind of started taking a back seat, I guess. And we went through and again, it just essentially took a back seat. It wasn't a priority of mine. I wasn't involved in it. I wasn't doing necessarily bad things, I guess, but I wasn't living the way a man probably should. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I sure do.
And as we've gone throughout the years and especially these past 2-3 years where I've just seen so much growth personally in my life. I do a lot of self-reflection, and I think that there's you can always find holes in your own cloth. And I've always known where I should be on that religious side, but I know where I should be and where I am don't necessarily line up. And for me, it's just an area where it's like, okay, I know that I don't need to just be turning to God in those hard times where something isn't going right or I'm super nervous about something or whatever that may be. It should be a lot more, I need to be a lot more intentional with it. And, that's where I'm at, man. It's just it's that next area of my life that I need to just continue developing. And I think a lot of it too, we've had multiple conversations about it where we're going through, we knock out this achievement or whatever it may be and it doesn't give you any fulfillment. And I think, part of that too is, going out there and we're trying to find, deeper meanings to things now and everything else. And I think, a lot of what we're looking for probably lies in this third aspect that we focus on here at Next in Line. So
yeah, no, man,
or will be focusing on more so.
Yes, we'll be focusing on is a big differentiator, because you're exactly right. The things that got me into personal development were the stories of all these hard-ass dudes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got David Goggins, you got
Andy Frisella,
you got Chad Wright, you got Tim Grover talking about Michael Jordan and our Kobe mm-hmm. Bryant and all those guys' mindset. And it is just beat whatever it is you're up against into submission and just outlast it, and eventually you'll win. Be the dog, put it in all the time, just work. And eventually, there's no way you can't find the success you're looking for if you just chase it, pursue mm-hmm. it. You're just consistent and always there and disciplined and working harder than anyone else. And been able to model that for a while. It took me a very long way. I've ran a lot of big ultra marathons, lost a lot of weight, done a lot of cool things and participated in a lot of big events, helped some people even with it. But the truth of the matter is, like you said, with all these big things, all these great adventures, lately at the end of them, there's just been this unfulfillment, mm-hmm. just lingering. It didn't scratch that itch. It doesn't check that box like it once did. And because of that, there's one area where I've avoided. And there's a great quote out there, and I can't remember who the guy is, but it goes, "The magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
And man, following that mindset and the approach, there's one area of my life that, because of my history and where I grew up, I've been honestly fearful of diving into.
Yeah.
And I guess going forward, to let y'all in on this and keep you in the loop, but the reason we're having these conversations and turn into this is because the conversation we're having right now is not one that's a stranger to a lot of people our age. I think there's a lot of young men especially, but men and women out there that are battling the doubts, battling situations, battling building a relationship because they're unsure or they're scared to get vulnerable or scared to put themselves out there. And man, I check every single one of those boxes.
I think makes two of us.
Yeah, I have not been a good person.
Yeah.
For a huge chunk of my life. I have had the mindset of once I fix myself and become the kind of person that belongs in that place, then I can let myself go to the place, which is a relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And I never felt like I was worthy of that or capable of that. And these past couple of years, I've come to figure out that it's not a matter of fixing yourself and then going. It's
coming as you are
and fixing yourself through it.
Yep, absolutely. You know, a lot of it too, or for me too, is, you know, I want to be the absolute best man I can be for my wife. I want to be the absolute best brother I can be, you know, and the best friend and coworker and everything else. And, you know, if we're continuing to do just what we think is best for us, I mean, that's only going to get you so far. You're only going to make so much progress. And, you know, once you turn and you start striving that in this direction, you know, I think that's where we're going to start seeing, you know, progress that I mean, we can't even fathom. You know, the Lord's plan is so much bigger than you or I could ever dream of. And I think that's pretty dang neat. So just kind of having faith in that in the process, just like faith in these training blocks that we wholeheartedly dive deep into. You know, it's just another area to dive into, man. So
yeah, and man, you know, being a guy that's ran a 100-mile race and being a guy that's signed up for a 250-mile race, I'm more worried and anxious and nervous about diving into this than any of those other events.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I've ever trained for, anything I've ever done. And I think that kind of speaks volumes as to where the attention needs to lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you feel about that, but man, it excites me, and there's moments of that, but man, I'll be straight with y'all. Sitting here looking at it, and we're starting with the process now, but it's uncomfortable.
It is, man. But, you know, that's where you find the most growth.
Yeah.
You know, diving into those uncomfortable situations, you know, it just continues to make you grow, and you know, it's all part of the plan at the end of the day.
It is. And I think just so everybody knows, I mean, we're aware of this being an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand we've got some people that have listened to this show for the entire 2 years that it's been out.
Yeah.
And there's some of those that aren't going to align with the beliefs that we're going to start looking into and the faith that we're going to discuss. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I think if you're here and you're wanting to be a good person and you're wanting to make progress, I think we're still going to be able to provide that for you.
Another thing about it too is, you know, this is a huge, you know, learning opportunity for you and I. I mean, you know, I know some very, very, very basic things,
yes.
in this, you know, dealing with religion and God and Jesus and everything else. But, it dives back into, we also want participation from y'all. This is a learning journey for me, and I think it is for you. And I don't know, man. I don't know, but
no, I think it is, and I think that's the most exciting thing about it for me is that there's an opportunity to learn. And I mean, we spent some time in it. We discussed it a lot, and it's kind of the final frontier in some ways, and
yeah.
And
yeah.
because of that, I'm excited. I'm excited to bring that to the podcast and to show people kind of what we're discovering about ourselves and what we're discovering about God and everything that we're going to be trying to take in. And there'll still be several different sides of this podcast. There'll be interviews with individuals that are kind of standalone episodes. There'll be times we get on here and we recap big events, or we feel like talking about something that came across our plate that week, and it's strictly in personal development and self-help, but just know that those things will be getting rooted in something stronger than that. And that's what we're trying to do here is root ourselves and build a foundation for ourselves to live off of. And honestly, not to speak for you, but something we can be proud of,
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree more, man. I really couldn't. And, again, there's going to be uncomfortable conversations between you and I and for folks listening, I'm sure too. But it's everything that's going to be relatable too. I think you and I both have been through quite a bit. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to continue to grow in our personal development, and I don't think that there's any other stone to unturned to start focusing on, at least. So,
I agree with you, man. I think there's levels we can push through, and there's things that we can do to further ourselves in all these aspects, right? In the physical strength, in the mental strength, and especially in that spiritual sense. But I think for those of y'all out there a little nerdy like me, it becomes some of those deals whenever you get deep into the game and you start understanding that there's prerequisites to get to the higher levels of the physical and of the mental side, and that you have to build up the spiritual side, and that you have to explore those other avenues and gain levels and gain progress and in that regard, so that you can further yourself and reach the full potential in those other two. But even with that, you better be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. And I guess a little bit of that too is well, I probably won't dive into that for this episode at least, but I'll save that for the next one.
I got you, man.
But cool, dude. Well, outside of this, is there what else you got?
Man, as far as what else I got, I'm just excited to dive into this endeavor. I'm excited for 2024 to roll on through. I hope everybody had a safe and good holiday season. It's a grind, man.
It is.
I can't tell you how bad it sucks to be past that and have a full year of being stuck in the grind again. Maybe some optimism with it, but the holidays are over and it's right back into the slump, if you will, and that's how I'm trying to not look at it, as though my last words probably of this podcast would be just, if we can do anything to help, for sure, let us know. But man, try to carry that positivity, try to carry some of the optimism, try to spend the time that you spent and see it as a recharge, charging those batteries back up, getting ready to take things back on, and really hitting this thing with a full head of steam. 2024 is a blank slate, full of opportunity. You don't have to start a New Year's resolution on day one to choose to start something. You didn't miss the one entry point for the year, So
no, there's no better time than the present, and I think that's something that we've talked about a couple times too. So
yeah,
and a lot of it too. Just something that I want to touch base on real quick. Something that Chad Wright talks about quite a bit, especially in those ultras. It's about being present and patient and deliberate in everything that you do out there. But I think that, we can apply that to everything that we do in 2024, just in general. So,
amen.
We're going to get after it, dude.
We're going to get after it, man. And the podcast episodes, what we're going to do is we're going to review a few chapters of the Bible going forward. We're going to discuss them, go through them, kind of talk about our understanding, try to learn something in the process, maybe teach each other something in the process, and just kind of
just have some open discussions about it.
Yeah, give a voice to kind of some of the stuff that's strange to us or unknown, and we'd love for y'all to be part of that. We're going to start in the book of Matthew, starting with the gospel, and if there's questions, comments, or concerns, or input, or just whatever perspective that you have, leave it in the comments if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube and you're on Spotify and there's not a place to comment, reach out to us at Next in Line Development, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Shoot us a DM. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us what we can do differently. Questions, comments, concerns, all those beautiful things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Again, we're looking for input from y'all on everything that we do. This isn't about Chance and I. This is about getting out there and making that impact with y'all. So,
couldn't agree with you more, man. So that's where it's at. That's what the plan is. That's how we're going to attack this thing, and we'd love for y'all to be part of that going into 2024. And also, guys, there's going to be a bigger push. You're going to see a lot more stuff on social media. You're going to see a lot more of a push for us to grow this thing and to help more people and to reach people who are going through some of the same struggles and in some of the same places that we've been or that we're currently at. So if that's something you can get along with, please share the show. Push it out there. Leave us a rating, a review, like, subscribe, whatever it is. All of those interactions, all of that support that you're showing us is going to help us pop up in that search bar earlier. It's going to help connect more people. If you screenshot this podcast and put it out on the story, maybe somebody gives it a listen that needs to hear it.
Yeah, you don't know the impact that you're making whenever you do that stuff. If it's an episode that you find value in, just share it with some other folks that you think will find that same value.
That's all we can ask for.
Absolutely.
But
well, other than that, man, I think we're going to go hit a cold plunge.
Yeah, we're going to hit a cold plunge.
Is that sponsored by Axis Recovery?
I think so. Now, we don't have a killer facility like them folks over there do.
No, but they did highly recommend it.
So. Oh, yeah. We're following the same protocols, just over here with the homemade deep freeze cold plunge. Water's a little nastier.
Hey, baby, whatever works.
Man, I'd give good money to have a place to go do this at, kind of like that they have over there, state-of-the-art, clean, well taken care of. But, hey, until they franchise out this way, we'll keep visiting.
Cool. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, let's go get after it, man.
Let's get after it, brother. Thank y'all. Do challenging things and always be prepared for whatever is.
Next in line.
That's right. Thank you.
Adios, folks.